In this episode of OG55, we are reacting to yet another Hey Bricky video, all about that Coco boat ride coming to DCA. We are playing the Hey Bricky video, reacting to it, analyzing it up next on this episode of OG55. Let's get it. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. We're getting down and dirty. We're getting filthy. We're getting filthy with these Disneyland forward, analytics. We're breaking it all down, talking about it. This is one of my favorite things, George, about being a Disney Parks fan, is actually like really deep diving and getting into this with the speculation and the excitement about future projects. If you watch a lot of the old school OG55 videos, like back in the day, like 2017, I was all about that back then because there was a lot going on. We finally have some stuff that we can do that with now. George the Italiano, welcome back to the show, and welcome back to the mainland, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So glad to be back. So glad to be back in the OG55 studio doing all these reaction videos with Bricky. We also have some other ideas coming up on the horizon, and this is a great time, like, because now that we that D23 has come, we got all the project announcements, some that we were kind of already anticipating, some that we got caught by surprise. Now we're just kind of like waiting to see, like, now where are they actually going to go? How are they going to fit in with everything? Is it going to be part of the original footprint of the parks? Are they going to be part of the Disneyland Forward? Which location is it going to go? Even into the details of the attractions themselves, because taken, for example, with the Coco boat ride, we just got, okay, it's going to be an immersive family boat ride, but it's like, okay, what is the boat ride going to be called? What's like the logistics behind it all? And it's like, I love that stuff.
And like, how does that fit into the existing park, right?
Exactly.
It's like we talked about it in a previous reaction video we did for Hey Bricky, where it's like, if you just throw it onto Pixar Pier, which they might do, to be honest with you, they might just put it in Pixar Pier, but how does that really work though? When you're walking through this very like carnival style pier, and then you go on this elaborate dark ride, this Pirates of the Caribbean style dark ride, there's a little bit of a disconnect there, I think. So where they put it, how they integrate it into the park, will it be somewhere else in DCA where we have a little Mexican village that kind of like sets up the tone, which this is what I hope they would do. But there's a million questions, but we'll dive into it. We got a great video coming up.
And especially too, come to think of it, now when Josh D'Amaro made the announcement for the Coco boat ride, we just got one piece of concept art of one scene in the ride itself. Right. We never really got a piece of concept art of what the actual area is going to look like, so.
Exactly. So it'll be very interesting. Before we dive into the video, where can everybody at home find you?
Oh, yeah, that would be nice. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter. Don't know for how much longer. At Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Sticky. There we go. There we go. And we may or may not be seeing them live perform. We may or may not be seeing them perform. Oh gosh, cannot wait. All right, here we go. Here we go. We got the one and only Mr. Hey Bricky. And again, OG, smash that like button. So everyone at home, you need to smash that like button. Bricky does phenomenal stuff. Brilliant work over there at Hey Bricky. And make sure, if you're not, make sure you subscribe to Mr. Bricky. Here we go, George. You know the drill. I'm going to play it. We're going to stop along the way. Let's dive in.
Let's go. Over 1,600 viewers where they wanted Coco to go inside of DCA, and this is what they told me. And
hey, for Hey Bricky, you got to say Coco, George.
Oh yes, of course. Coco.
There it is. Yeah, Bricky
he loves giving me shit. He does like the best impression of me saying Coco. With my Pittsburghese accent.
As a true Pennsylvanian, you're gonna go watch Coco, and you're gonna drink a pop while you do it, right, George?
Exactly.
Specifically asked not where you think it will go, but where you want it to go. Big difference on what fans want and what they believe Disney will probably do these days. Let's explore the 4 locations that you voted on, and I'll break down the pluses and minuses to each of these locations, as well as breaking down what modern day Disney boat ride would fit in that exact spot. Now, part of the theme of today's videos, we are ignoring a little project by the name of Disneyland Forward, just like it was conveniently ignored at Disney's Horizons announcements at D23. Today's challenge, and what I asked viewers of this channel was to do, is to imagine where Coco could go inside the existing footprint of Disney's California Adventure. And originally I thought that when Coco got announced after Avatar, that this did mean that one of these two were a part of Disneyland Forward, because in my mind, I don't know that both of these fit inside the current footprint of DCA, therefore meaning that one of these projects could possibly be a Disneyland Forward project. But before we get into breaking down, expanding the park, let's break down where Coco...
Well, and again, I haven't seen this video, so I might be jumping the gun here, but you know, but the fact that they're not starting Coco for 2 more years, that kind of lends me to believe it's going to be, that one is going to be Disneyland Forward.
I would think so, because even to what a lot of people aren't even talking about too is the expansion of Avengers Campus. You know, right. So even though that's obviously going to be in the footprint, they don't need to do anything with the Disneyland Forward as far as that goes. But that'll probably be the very first thing. But yeah, I do agree with Coco. They have to have some form of Disneyland Forward tied to it.
It has to. I just feel that construction date of 2026. I think Josh was really kind of telling us with a wink and a nod, this is Disneyland Forward. Because
if it goes into a spot that actually is part of this video that BRICKEY brings up, which it still very well could be, they don't need Disneyland Forward for the one particular spot. Actually, 2, even if you really think about it. But why would they wait till 2026?
Yeah, exactly. That tells you everything, I think, right there. But we'll see. We'll see what BRICKEY says.
Could fit inside of DCA as voted by the viewers of this channel. With all of that out of the way, let me say, BRICKEY here, showing you the top 4 locations that you voted on where you want Coco to go inside of DCA. It's a video that you helped create, and I appreciate that. Let's go to number 4, your least favorite pick. And oh, did you hate this one? Number 4 on our list of 4, your least favorite idea, only getting 4% of the vote, converting the Hyperion Theater over to the Coco boat ride. You guys hated this idea. 4% of you is like 64 people out of 1,600. Very, very unpopular.
Okay, really,
idea.
really quick.
That's interesting.
When I watched that, I actually was very surprised with that, because now, do you think the 4% is because not necessarily the location, but just because of what it would be replacing with the Hyperion?
100%. People don't want to lose the Hyperion for some reason. I mean, I get it. I do understand, because it is live entertainment, and it's good live entertainment, right? But God, that theater is god-awful ugly. That theater is hideous. You know what I'm saying? And it would suck to lose the entertainment, but you're gaining a next-gen Pirates of the Caribbean dark ride. I mean...
But other than Rogers the Musical, what else have they been using the Hyperion for?
Nothing. That's the thing. They don't even use it. It's an eyesore in the park. I don't know, man. I would be fine with that, actually. And Coco would fit the Hollywood theme, because anything basically fits the Hollywood theme. Well, but this is the thing. Is Hollywoodland even sticking around? So we don't even know. See, this is the thing. People don't want Coco to replace the Hyperion, but there's a strong likelihood the Hyperion is going no matter what anyway. Whether it's Coco or not, it's looking like more and more likely this is going to be Pandora. And if Pandora moves in, this thing is definitely gone. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I do sympathize with people that are like, you know, hey, I don't want to lose live entertainment. I get that. And this is something that we have been losing at Disneyland Resort. And I wouldn't be opposed to maybe Disney building a big Broadway style theater somewhere at the downtown Disney area. Yeah, that would be cool. I think a theater like that would be perfect for a downtown Disney. Now, the only problem and the only downside
There's
for
a
that,
caveat to that.
yes, you put it in downtown Disney, there's going to be a charge at the door. You know there will be. You're not getting in that. You're not getting into that shit for free. You know that, right?
But do you think that was the Hyperion's problem? Is because these Broadway style shows, Aladdin and Frozen, they were very expensive to put on multiple times a day, every single week, and there's no upcharge for that ticket, so it was making no money.
So if you build a theater like this in downtown Disney and you charge at the door, now it's a revenue maker for them, and now they can keep the shows in there and cycle through Hercules and Princess and the Frog and Frozen, because now they're making money at the door. So it is. Look, there's a huge. It's a pro and con kind of thing. Yes, fandom, you're gonna have to pay to get in, but you will probably have a more steady flow of entertainment if that was the case. Are you willing to do that? I'm willing to do that, but a lot of people, not so much. I don't think a lot of people, I think, would complain.
I'm right there with you. I would take it.
I'd take it.
I'd be happy as a 34-year-old going to a strip club.
There you go. George, hold on one sec. You said 34-year-old going to a strip club. Welcome to the stage, Sierra Mist. Get out those dollars. No.
Sierra Mist.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like Sierra Mist. Hey, it kind of works as a stripper.
It actually does. That's actually very clever.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It kind of works.
Maybe that's why they got rid of Sierra Mist and it became Star, because maybe it.
I have no idea.
Maybe someone took the name.
I have no idea. I used to drink that stuff all the time.
I did.
Yeah, I didn't even know they got rid of it, huh? I don't see it anymore.
Yeah, it became Star. It's basically the same drink. It just has a different name.
Wow. Yeah, because if you do, welcome to the stage, Pepsi. It just doesn't have the same ring to it.
No.
Sierra Mist, man. That's a great name. All right, here we go. We've digressed far enough. Yes.
sorry, Bricky.
And you know what? As I break down the pros and cons, I'm pretty sure I'm not a huge fan of it as well. Let's break down the size that we're working with, what would fit here, but first, what's good about it and what's bad about it. What we have to work with in this location is 70,000 square feet. And that means using all of it. The Hyperion Theater, as well as the courtyard that I'm standing in right now. So we're gonna have to find a new place for trick-or-treaters come every August, because Halloween starts in August now. First things first, let's break down the good of your least favorite pick. One good thing that maybe only bothers me would be that putting a new attraction here would replace one of the worst sight lines in all of DCA.
Thank you.
I absolutely despise the lack of theming on the side of the Hyperion Theater. Like, come on, you can't put a faux cityscape that hides all the stairs behind me, and when you walk up and down the stairs, you can like look out a portal and see one of the best views of Avengers Campus. I'd give anything for filming this video to be able to walk up on those stairs right now. But this over here is hideous. And if something new were to come here, that would go away. At this location also works into a perfect thing that we've been talking about on the vlog, basically post D23, the whole notion.
Look how just ugly this thing. It's ugly, bro. This is like, I don't know. I get it, the loss of entertainment, but
here's the thing. If someone took a snapshot of that and sent it to me and said, this is inside of Disney California Adventure, if I was a person that would never went into the parks, I'd say, no, that's no way. That's not a Disney.
Bro, I'm not even kidding you, man. Right now I work from home, and I've worked from home for a long time. Okay, like since 2017, even before the pandemic. Even before the pandemic, I was working from home. But we used to work in an office, right? Mm-hmm. The campus we worked on, the corporate campus we worked on, looked 1,000 times better than this. There's no excuse for that at Disney. Like, this is, and again, it's not Big Bad Bob Iger who did this. It was Michael Eisner. That was his era. This is terrible. Okay, absolutely terrible.
Yeah, this is DCA 1.0 at its worst.
Yeah, and you can tell, man, and it's hideous. And I get it. Getting rid of it, you would get rid of live, stage productions and stuff, which is sad. But God, I would love to see this thing. It is an eyesore. Brickey's absolutely right. Huge eyesore.
Of if you're not going to use it, just get rid of it. That was my unpopular take about Rivers of America out at Walt Disney World, and that will also be my unpopular take about the Hyperion Theater. Let's start putting some performance and entertainment and culture back into the park, or let's not kid ourselves and just get rid of this footprint and put something here that you'll actually use.
Amen.
A family boat ride themed around Coco, that's something that would get used all day long, every day, except for when it breaks down. I'm already predicting this ride's going to break down. So getting rid of a dead space in the park, a potential dead space in the park. I mean, what happened? Rogers the Musical was awesome. More of that, please. But if none of that's going to come, then let's just stop kidding ourselves. Let's stop the charade of the fake facade, and let's put something here that guests get to use instead of a big, beautiful box that nobody gets to go inside of. That sounded so wrong. So before we talk about what could potentially go here, let's break down the bad parts.
That was good. That was good, Ricky. I like that.
This. It would be a very, very tight fit. You would get an attraction only. There would be no room for a Coco neighborhood, which is a big part of what I want to happen when this attraction comes to DCA. I don't want this just to be a ride. I want this to be a destination.
Yes.
I want vibes. I want something I can cruise through and walk around every time I come to the park, because I'm not going to ride the ride every time I come to the park. I already know that the line's crazy. And strangely, I do feel like this could really clash with its neighbor being Avengers Campus, because I can clearly hear that background music loop right where I'm standing. So, Coco music, Avengers music.
That's one thing that Avengers Campus does. They go full Universal Studios and they just crank that shit up to they crank it. And I love that, actually. That's one thing I've said many times. When I go to Universal Hollywood, man, and you go to that security checkpoint and you put your bag on the little scanner or whatever, and they're blasting like Back to the Future and Jurassic Park and E.T. I'm like, yeah, man.
Yeah, it gets you in that mood. It hypes. It starts out your day.
Dude, it hypes you up. You know what I'm saying? It's like going to the strip club, when they. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it is though. In all seriousness,
trying to get in that big box, and everybody gets in.
Yeah, no, but it is. It hypes you up, and Avengers Campus has that hype level. You get in there, and it's like the Avengers theme song and stuff, dude. It's pretty cool. I love that element of that land for sure.
Kind of colliding together. I feel like there could be a better transition, and good news, there is on our countdown today. One of the things I will really hate if this goes away is that the theater creates culture inside of the park. Live performance, live entertainment does make Disneyland and DCA feel so much more like a real little city. I really wish that they would use this for something other than a big giant facade. So the modern Disney boat ride that would fit in this spot, being approximately 65,000 square feet, including its front facade and entryway queue, would be a version of the new Tangled ride that we saw at Disney's Fantasy Springs inside of Japan. So that level of attraction would fit here. But with this plot of land only being 70,000 square feet, it would be extremely, extremely tight. But on the good side, the visuals of coming down Hollywood Boulevard and seeing a Coco attraction at the end, it would be a good carrot at the end of what's becoming a pretty sad stick. All right, let's move over from your least favorite spot to number.
And that actually ties into your idea in another video that we did, another reaction video, where you were saying, have like a Mexican street, in this area, which would be perfect if you went down Hollywood Boulevard, right? The main drag of Hollywood Land. And then maybe the street going this way, that makes the T. I don't know what that street is. Is it Sunset? I don't know. But anyway, make it like Olvera Street, or something Latin themed, and then kind of have like little outdoor vendors selling like tacos and and just Mexican food and stuff. I think that'd be really awesome, dude. And that would tie very much into like the California thing, you know? I mean, something that a lot of fans have complained about as of late, but we'll see. I still don't think any of this is going to happen. I think that they're going to rip this whole thing out and make it Pandora, but we'll see.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. We'll see.
3 on our list. Still not a popular selection, but one I think has a bit more realistic approach to it than the spot behind me. Ah, yes. Me performing one of my favorite hobbies. Always predicting the death and the demise of the Hollywood backlot. My least favorite part of DCA. And according to you, this was your second least popular place to put a Coco ride.
What?
And it was least popular by a stretch. In
I didn't get it
only
myself either when I saw it,
11%
bro.
of you liked it.
Why? What is back here that's so special? See, this is the thing. Man, the thing that frustrates me about fans, and I am one, okay, so it's like, hey, look, you know what? You have family, right? And sometimes there are certain things that like your mom or your dad does that like bug you, right? You still love them to death. But God, they got these quirks that just drive you crazy. Look, fandom. I love the fandom. I'm part of the fandom. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I don't understand this, like getting mentally married to nostalgia. Like you're willing to keep this giant eyesore of an area for what? I mean, we're promised a Pirates of the Caribbean style dark ride, and you want to keep this shit and the Monsters Inc. ride and the facade and the ugly metal everywhere. Because that's what it's been for 20 plus years. So let's keep it no matter what. I don't understand.
And I guarantee you, even though this is going over at Walt Disney World, once the Monsters Inc. area comes with that e-ticket attraction, people are going to say Mike and Sully to the Who.
Yeah, exactly.
This idea, roughly 175 folks, making this idea not a popular one at all. But I do see a potential here. Let's break it down. And that's one of the problems. Spoiler. So if we stay on the back side of the monorail and use both buildings, we have a total combination of 60,000 square feet to put a Coco family boat ride back in this area. And that does not include going into where the buses are. We're not including Disneyland Forward inside of today's challenge. And just to give you an idea of how much bigger a boat ride is, the footprint for Monsters Inc. alone is roughly 37,000 square feet. So you need at least, 20,000 more square feet to get into boat ride territory. However, what I believe is the most promising is that if you took over the entire Hollywood backlot, it gives you a humongous footprint of over 165,000 square feet, which I think gives us the best play for having a Coco neighborhood inside of DCA. Because if the ride set on the back side of where the monorail goes and the entire courtyard was turned into a neighborhood, a street fair with Mexican restaurants, shops, repositioned around here, a big, beautiful water fountain in the center, Esplanade, I believe that this could be an absolutely amazing addition to DCA.
Yep.
When DCA finally has what the Disneyland Resort needs, a Latino land. And I feel like the 360 scape here, entry points off of Hollywood.
Just a Latino land? What about our Latinas? We love our Latinas. Come on, we got to get Latinas in there.
Boulevard would give you an amazing courtyard of cultural experience. I feel like this could be absolutely fantastic. But as always, there's a big but on the horizon. This area would also work really well with all the different street food fairs that they do, all the different...
A lot of innuendo in this video from BRICKEY.
I know. It's like, tie it all in. It's like the big butt and in the big empty box and a sad short end of a stick.
I'm telling you, right? I'm telling you.
Food festivals, you could have all kinds of Latino foods being served inside of this area, which just happens to be my absolute favorite food in the entire world. And converting this into something that people actually care about would give great purpose to coming into the park, working your way down Hollywood Boulevard, and then going through one of the 2 access points and just going into a complete transformation of a lively, vibrant street fair. This could be awesome. Now it's time for the but. The monorail creates a massive problem. And if we keep the boat ride on the other side of the monorail, it makes for the smallest boat ride on today's list, and one that's not even one of the more modern boat rides that we'll be looking at today. And then there's the other factor. This plot of land, the Hollywood Backlot, is the last big play for a truly transformative experience inside of the current DCA footprint. Is this what you want to spend it on? Or do many folks not want Coco to go here because they have their heart set on Avatar going here? Because this does feel like the only plot of land that is big enough to do the ambitious plans that they have for creating a version of Pandora inside of Disney's California Adventure. Meaning whatever expansion you put in this footprint, you better choose wisely because it's your last big play on the chessboard. Meaning that the boat ride that would fit on the back side of the monorail tracks and not going into the bus courtyard would be something very similar to what we see at the Mexico Pavilion inside of Epcot. So then it comes down to the question, yeah, the street fair would fit here really well. But is this the level of an attraction that guests would want? And is this really what you want to do with your last big play on the chessboard? It's a hard decision to make. It's hard for me to make, and it cost me $0.
Honestly, I think there's a lot of potential with his idea and turning this into a Latin area with the Coco Dark Ride. There's potential there in terms of like the last big piece of the chessboard. I think it's worth it. I mean, because you can have all kinds of Latin entertainment, Latin food. You put all your Latin celebrations back there, which is a huge moneymaker for Disney. I mean, obviously they do it every year at DCA. You just move it into this area. I don't know, man. And then for Halloween, you can deck it all out for Halloween, for Boogie Bash. I mean, there's a lot of potential here, a lot of money from a business perspective. It might be a good decision for Disney, but what say you, Italiana?
I agree. I think this would be a great spot for Coco. I don't think this would be something in a negative way. I think a lot of people would accept it, and I think it would be a phenomenal space. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little bit too, because I'm also thinking in the mindset of Disney of how they look beyond even to what they're even working on now. And
Right.
as Bricky had mentioned about like a chess piece and like what would be the next move. So it all falls into a domino effect that, just to say hypothetically, if this area in the backlot area becomes for Coco, then that moves Avatar over into the Simba parking lot.
Correct.
But we don't know what Disney's plans are for the second half of the 10 years.
Right. And we also already know, which is confirmed, they're getting rid of the red car trolley.
Right.
And Disney is using the justification as we need we need to get rid of the trolley barn to make way for the two Avengers attractions, which is true technically, but I've always said there's a bigger play here.
It's killing two birds with one stone, sort of speak.
Right. They're getting rid of the trolley barn, yes, to make way for Avengers, but also because there's not going to be a need for a trolley because Pandora's moving it.
Right.
You know,
so we could easily say, you know what, and we've said it many times, Pandora would go perfectly over in the Simba parking lot because it gives them more room to play. However, for that second half of the 10 years, as part of Disneyland Forward, does Disney have something even bigger and more ambitious than even Avatar?
You're right. And they might want it. They just acquired this land, you know, or not really acquired it, but they got permission now to use it for theme park. Do you want to blow a lot of it like so early on, or do you want to use what you have existing in the park right now?
Right.
And then save that symbol lot for, like you said, George, down the road. So
right.
I think that's the play. I do think Hollywood Land's going for Avatar, which opens up a whole other can of worms, because then you wonder, well, you just plop Avatar down.
Right.
What now? What are you going to do with the theme? And
Exactly.
I know people will say, well, it hasn't been in California for a long time. I get that. But I mean, they've at least somewhat massaged the idea, like, you know, San Francisco and, you know, even Cars Land with like Route 66. There's enough California like connective tissue that it still kind of makes sense. Pandora has none. So you would have, and it's huge. So you would have to address the theme somehow again. There would have to be some sort of rebranding of this park. So we'll see. There's a lot. DCA, I'm telling you right now, in 10 years will be a completely different experience.
But just so we know, just so we're on the same page, blowing the whole thing at once sometimes isn't always a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's exit the 2 ideas that you guys just absolutely hated, and let's move up to the top 2 ideas, which it seems like most of you are really on the same page for where you want Coco to go inside of DCA, like overwhelmingly on the same page. And speaking of overwhelmed, I was overwhelmed by the results of this poll. Thank you so much for being a subscriber and following along, and thank you so much for voting. I feel like this is a really great way to create content, not necessarily based on what I want, but showing you guys and breaking down what you want in a way that hopefully sways you to either love it twice as much or go, I don't know if that's a good idea. I always love the debate that we create on this channel, and as the community is growing and growing quite quickly, I love that this is becoming a place where intelligent fans talk about the things that they want to see happen in the Disney parks. Man, what a fun thing to daydream and talk about. What a great place for escapism. I'm so happy you're here, and I'm so happy you're going on this journey with me. Hey, BRICKEY. Your second pick coming in at 36% of the vote, which is over 500 of you, Paradise Gardens. But I think this could possibly be the most challenging location that was in today's vote.
Okay, he's gonna get into it. I agree with him in terms of challenging, because I think he's going to get into like the real estate. There's not a whole lot of real estate here, but I think this is the perfect spot, because we've talked about it a lot here on the channel, where Disney sort of will beta test certain IP in certain areas to see how it does. They've been beta testing the Coco stuff in this area of the park for years, and just the Latin culture stuff for years. It kind of makes sense that this would be the area that they end up bulldozing and turning into the Coco area for the boat ride. But I think, and I haven't seen this video yet, this is my first time, I think he's going to get into like the actual acreage though. That's where they're going to come into some trouble, I think. Yeah. So we'll see. But this is really honestly, this is kind of like my top spot, like realistically. I just think it would be perfect. I really do. And then you can get rid of some of these other eyesores in the park, like Goofy's Sky School, the Jumpin' Jellyfish, the Zephyr, all these ugly DCA 1.0 things, get them out, and now you have a really immersive, well-themed, fleshed out Mexican village. Come on. It could be DCA's New Orleans Square, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because we, as you had mentioned, we talked about this many times. This was the first choice, even before Damaro mentioned the announcement of a Coco family boat ride. We said, if and when they do Coco and it goes into DCA, this is the area. We said that for years.
Literally years.
This entire plot of land.
Oh, and just a friendly reminder, make sure you subscribe to Hey BRICKEY.
Is 65,000 square feet. That is the minimum that we need to get a boat ride in. And for those that say, oh, it'll just replace Goofy's Flight School, bro, how small of a boat ride do you want?
Sorry,
Goofy's
BRICKEY.
Flight School is shockingly small and shockingly efficient. Goofy's Flight School is only 20,000 square feet. So
he's going to kill me.
Other than those little ducks that come by and you pull it up and go, oh yeah, I'm a winner. So it's 65,000 square feet. Let's break down what could go here. But first, let's break down the good and the bad. On the upside, this is a very odd part of the park. And I'm purposely only talking about the Paradise Gardens area. But we'll talk about what lays outside of this perimeter as well when we get to our complete breakdown. But it's an odd place in the park that has found a home for Latino celebrations when we do different cultural events all throughout the year. And it also becomes home to Lunar New Year's main events at the start of the year. So it has become a cultural corner of DCA. Co-attraction sitting at the back end of the performance corridor when coming into the park. It would create purpose to this back corner.
It would create purpose. It would also block out the ugly Pixar Place Hotel, because this boat ride is going to have a massive show building. And you probably will never get rid of the Pixar Hotel completely. But if you have a big show building like that sitting over there, you're going to block out most of it. And that in and of itself, for me, I'm a big sightlines guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm Mr. Sightlines. I gave Universal Studios a lot of crap when you could see the giant Comcast building from Nintendo World, but I give Disney the same amount of crap. You know what I'm saying? The Pixar Place Hotel is a terrible sightline, and this Coco Dark ride would probably block out most of it, which would be fantastic.
And also too, and I've mentioned this many times, on the channel that if this would be the area for the new Coco Dark Ride and possibly like a Mexican village, little mini land, it would fit well in the sense of where it could be its own thing. It could have its own identity, but it would be adjacent to the Pixar Pier, because since that Coco is a Pixar intellectual property,
right,
it could have the justification that it deserves, but also it could be tied into the pier without it actually being part of the pier.
Yes, and I'm sure the number one is going to be the Pixar Pier location, which I completely disagree with fans on that one. I think it's really weird to walk through a seaside pier and enter in a Coco attraction that we're hearing from Josh D'Amaro is a Pirates of the Caribbean style technological marvel, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a little bit of a disconnect there. When you're walking,
BRICKEY mentions that as a con.
Yeah, see, exactly. And BRICKEY is very smart. And that's why, yeah, it would feel weird to me. I completely agree with him on that, 1,000%.
And it would also create an amazing sight line, drawing you in as you work your way further and further into the park, where your big reveal, your big reward would be a Coco family boat ride. That part sounds pretty awesome. You know there's a butt coming.
There's a butt, baby.
It's a big butt. This footprint gives no room for neighborhood whatsoever. I mean, it's a tight fit for an attraction only. Therefore, we would...
He's right. He's right. There's no neighborhood, which would suck. I agree with him on that. I want the neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? But it kind of goes in line with what D'Amaro was saying, where it's just a single attraction. They're not doing, as far as we know from the announcement, D'Amaro didn't indicate like a mini land or a neighborhood. He indicated an attraction. So if you use that footprint and it's just the attraction, it kind of goes into what D'Amaro was saying. Now, again, we don't know many details, but I mean, they only promised an attraction at the expo, you know?
Exactly.
So this might be the spot, but they're waiting 2 years to start it. Why would you do that if you're going to put it in the existing park? That's the thing that's throwing me off.
Yeah.
Be giving up a lot for a single boat ride.
Really
it
quick.
Would be the major
I wanted to
removal.
ask you that too. If well, no, I guess I just answered my own question to that too, because if they started on the Avengers campus area first, do you think that they're kind of like doing like one project at a time where they both wouldn't be going off simultaneously? So it's like finish off Avengers Campus, then move into Coco?
Oh, maybe. And maybe not because of logistics, because Avengers doesn't really logistically interfere with anything, but maybe in terms of opening dates, because you want to space out opening dates.
Right.
Because you're going to have Avengers stuff open, and then that's going to eventually, demand for that will eventually wane, and then you can open Coco. So you kind of re-energize that excitement again a few years later. Just smart business, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they're pushing Coco out to start in 2026, because they're trying to space out these opening dates to kind of keep that momentum going. You know,
Yeah.
That's a good, it's possible, man.
Yeah, because a lot of people could say, well, why don't they just do Coco first and then do Avengers? But you have to think, we've been waiting for this Avengers e-ticket for God knows how long. So they have to get moving on that.
Well, yeah, and Avengers doesn't disrupt the park operations at all. It's all backstage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's just say hypothetically they were going to do it here, Coco. This disrupts everything. There's food places here. They do the Latin celebrations here.
And even though I was just going to say, even though that they are amusement park carnival style attractions, they still get people in line. So if you close that whole area down, you're taking out 4 to 5 attractions, you know, so you have to have something to kind of offset that.
Well, that's assuming if they do the whole thing. If they just do this back area, like this whole back area with the food stuff and just build the ride, then you can keep Goofy Sky School and all that stuff.
True.
Personally, I wish they would just get rid of Goofy Sky School and get rid of the Zephyr and the jumping jellyfish and all that garbage. It's a DCA 1.0 relic that needs to go. It's hideous. But yeah, I see what you're saying. If they were to extend it past and get rid of all that stuff, you're getting rid of multiple attractions. Now, eventually, it will probably boost capacity because these boat rides are going to have crazy capacity. But in the meantime, operations and all that other stuff.
For the construction part, you have to
a
have
mess.
something to offset it. But at the same time, too, if you're going to go that far to take out the Golden Zephyr, Jumpin' Jellyfish, Goofy Sky School, then you might as well should just go balls to the wall. And as much as I love the ride, it's very simple. I love Silly Symphony swings. But if you're going to go that far, then you might as well should just go all the way back to that area and close that as well, because Silly Symphony swings would then be sitting all by itself, and it has no connection to the pier or to Coco.
Oh yeah, you can build a cool Mexican style structure there, multi-level if you wanted to, and you can serve alcohol and food, have live performances in there like mariachis and stuff. That's what I would put there. I know you're losing an attraction for like a restaurant or something like that, but I'd be okay with that, man. Yeah, I agree with you, George. Get rid of Silly Symphony swings. It's not that great looking anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's very, I don't know. I look, you're talking to someone here that I'm not a huge fan of like Pixar Pier in general. So I would rather bulldoze a lot of it and just make it food places at this point. But I think a lot of people probably disagree with me.
One of the largest shaded seating areas inside of DCA, 2 restaurants, a restroom, which good news, that means there's running water here for a boat ride, and as well as Goofy's Flight School. And if we were to just rearrange the entire footprint, take out the carnival rides on the edge of the water, then you're losing 3 more attractions. And if we were to remove everything over on the edge of the water, now we have made a very hard time for the parade to work through here, because this is on the performance corridor, the main exit.
But here's the thing. He's right. I mean, technically, the parade route does go through here, but that doesn't mean if you turn this into a Latin area, you keep the parade route. It's just the buildings around it will be Mexican.
Right.
Like, just because you put Coco here doesn't necessarily mean that you got to get rid of this.
Or is the green indicating that that's going to be the show building?
Oh, maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, you're probably right. Okay. Yep. But I'm still iffy about the parade anyway, because if they put Pandora over there in Hollywood Land,
it's not gonna make sense no matter what they do.
I don't know.
They're gonna have to reroute the whole parade route anyway. Right,
because a lot of people aren't talking about that. If Pandora goes into Hollywood Land, the parade route is going to be altered. It has to. You can't have that parade going through Pandora. That'd be weird, right?
Yeah.
So there's something going on. If Pandora goes over there, they're probably going to reimagine the whole parade route anyway. But I don't know. It's interesting. That's why I've been saying video after video after video after video since the expo. This is the biggest change to DCA that we've seen in years.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be like literally
like a reboot almost.
Literally, yeah. This is DCA 3.0.
Yeah, exactly.
This is going to be a bigger like facelift than Joan Rivers ever had.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Shout out to Joan Rivers. God bless her.
Very hard time for the parade to work through here, because this is on the performance corridor. The main exit and entry spot for the parade is just beyond this. So therefore, if all of this got blown out, we did a nice walkway along the water, it would get kind of tight in there. And let's not forget, we would lose my favorite Christmas street fair. When big paper mache Santa and Mrs. Santa come down the street here, it's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
It is awesome.
Those moments where somehow they get Disney magic inside of my eye. So out of everything we're looking at today, this plot of land would be the biggest addition by way of subtraction, giving up a potential 4 attractions, 2 restaurants.
It's physically subtraction, but I think in terms of, as Steve Jobs would say, like brand withdrawal or brand deposit, I think physically, yes, you're removing more stuff and replacing it with less stuff. But I think in terms of the brand and the perception and the optics of DCA, I think it's a net positive, because you take away the carnival stuff, the cheap looking stuff, and you're replacing it with something on par with Pirates of the Caribbean, and whatever little Mexican village they build around it or the elements around it, heavily themed. I think it's a net positive for the park, even though you're technically losing more attractions than gaining. But even on capacity, like we said, you're probably even gaining capacity with the boat ride.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you look at the wait times for all those attractions, Silly Symphony swings, Jumpin' Jellyfish, Goofy Sky School, Golden Zephyr, you can probably combine all their wait times of capacity of guests waiting in line to the Coco boat ride, and it would probably still add more capacity into that. Because once that Coco boat ride opens, you're going to be looking probably at like 120-minute wait, easy.
Oh, easy. Yeah, it's going to be huge. Because DCA doesn't have rides like this.
Yeah.
They need rides, these everybody attractions. DCA has a lot of the same problems that Universal parks have. Mm-hmm. It's either little kid stuff, like little kids, or it's like crazy intense, like Incredicoaster. You know what I'm saying? There's not a whole lot of this in between stuff. And this is the perfect kind of in the middle, that Goldilocks kind of middle attraction that they desperately need. So you're going to see huge wait. This is going to be one of the definitely one of the most popular attractions, right up there with Racers, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree.
Best shaded seating area, but don't worry, some things are sacred.
Yeah.
Just try and touch my castle. Try and touch my castle, Disney, and I'll come right after you. So what kind of modern boat ride would fit into this area? It would be the Na'vi Journey from Disney's Animal Kingdom. That is the size of the type of dark ride that we can anticipate on the back end of the Pixar Pier Paradise Gardens area. I don't really ever know exactly the name of where I'm standing when I'm in this horseshoe. And look, I think that a Coco family ride could be absolutely amazing, but I want it to fit into a neighborhood. And I don't see a way where this plot of land gives those neighborhood vibes without completely blowing out the front end of the park and getting rid of a significant amount of attractions. I want that little street fair so bad, but I also want lots of families with little kids to be able to rip a couple of easy rides when they come to DCA, just sort of getting that overall rides per hour divided by what you pay per hour, feeling, like it's on par versus a single attraction that will always have an epically long line. You spend 8 minutes in an area where typically you might spend an hour and also spend a decent amount of money buying drinks and food and getting a little rest in the shade. But I easily see
really
why
quick. I just have a couple things to say.
Because it does.
First off, as I always said, this is Disney. It's not always about the kids.
So, yeah, exactly. Real quick, before you go any further, George, I do want to touch upon that in all seriousness. I see a lot of people talk about how these parks are for children. No, children are an element of the equation. Absolutely. Absolutely. But these parks were never made for children. These are not exclusively children parks. This isn't Chuck E. Cheese, right? This isn't some like little, McDonald's playland. Walt Disney set the stage for this. He said he wanted a place where everybody in the family will get some kind of value out of the experience. It's not for kids. It's also for adults, and adults are a part of that family experience. So when people tell me like you shouldn't have alcohol because this park is for kids, no, the park's not for kids. It was never made just for kids. It was always made for the entire family, and dad can drink, so serve them beer.
Exactly. And honestly, I'm going to take it one step further. I think it has a little bit more of an edge for adults than children, because I'm sorry, we're the ones paying for this shit.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Phil, and Disney has branded this as the home of Coco inside of DCA. But it's
really quick
for
that's
a
what
Halloween show.
Now, he had mentioned the Na'vi River Journey, that would be the size kind of show building that it would be if they were to include it back in that Paradise Gardens area. And honestly, if that would be the size building for it, wherever it goes, I would be a little disappointed with that. Because I enjoy the Na'vi River Journey, but I feel like Coco could be on such a much grander scale.
But is it the size of that ride that makes it disappointing for you, or is it that there's nothing going on in there? Because if you take the same boat ride, but you actually have show scenes that are like more engaging,
I still think it's the length.
Is it too short?
I think it's still too short.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
A Christmas street fair or meet and greets, I just don't think this is the spot for a full-fledged attraction because of everything we'd have to give up to make that happen. Now let's move over to your most popular pick and let me show you the graphic.
OG's favorite land.
I was
It
blown
doesn't-
away that I got over
It doesn't make sense.
1,600 votes. Thank you so much for being a part of the Hey Bricky community. And if you want to have your vote counted on the next video, which will probably be Avatar, make sure you subscribe to Hey Bricky and keep going on this journey with me. Subscribing is the free way to make sure this channel doesn't go away.
Subscribe.
Shout out to the gardeners that said hey to me while I was filming. Man, the gardeners of Disneyland and DCA have given me a whole new appreciation for landscaping. Friends, I hope you're enjoying today's video. And if you want to enjoy your next visit to the park, letting everybody know your preference, that you're there for the vibes, over the rides, make sure you support Hey Bricky by shopping in the link below. Purchasing a beautiful Bricky blouse is a great way to support Hey Bricky.
And actually, I'm linking this video at the end of this video. So if you watch this video, click on the merch store that Bricky is talking about and get yourself a fabulous shirt. Vibes over rides. I'm definitely vibes over rides. George has done the parks with me many times. I love I don't sit on the bench all day, but I do walk around. But I don't need to hit a million rides. I'm good walking around, soaking it all in. I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, buy the shirt.
Allowing me to keep showing up with 3 quality videos every week. I cannot wait to meet you in the park when I see you wearing your beautiful Bricky blouse. Now back to today's video. Thank you so much for showing up, and thank you if you voted. Friends, your #1 vote, and it wasn't even close. 50% of you want Coco to arrive in the location that's directly behind me, keeping all of the Pixar properties contained in one area inside of DCA. At first, I wasn't so sure about this, but I think maybe you might have convinced me. Let's move over to someplace that's not quite as loud and break down your votes on Pixar Pier. 50% of you voted that this is where you wanted to go. So by speaking to 1,600 of you at the time of recording, the poll's gone even higher by now. That means roughly 800 people wanted to go over on Pixar Pier. And as I said, at first, I was a little bit like, nah, on this, but coming here today, filming in park, I now have a whole new vision of what Coco could look like over on the pier. So if Imagineering was to blow out everything on the other side of these.
And he gives a good idea of how it could fit in, and literally of how he puts it. I'm not going to say it because you're going to hear it yourself. It has become one of my favorite moments in a Hey Bricky video.
Wow. Okay, that's bold. That's bold.
Doors and use everything that's backstage. That would give them roughly a footprint of about 110,000 square feet. However, it's not like Disney doesn't use this space. As we can see from above on Always Mickey's Fun Wheel, to me, there's a lot of backstage operations happening. So if they were only to use this building, it shrinks down to about 35,000 square feet, which is very small. Before we get into what fits in our final destination, let's break down all the pros of Coco going at the Pixar Pier. Obviously, as stated from the top, many of you like the idea of keeping similar properties all contained in one footprint, and you would like to see Coco next to the other Pixar attractions, and I don't think you're wrong.
No, they're not wrong, and I get that. I have OCD, so I completely understand where fans are coming from. I have the same problem with Star Tours being separated from Galaxy's Edge, but if you put it in the spot that he was just talking about, the Paradise Gardens, it's still sitting right next to Pixar Pier. So it's still it's all contained in that same area, and you get a more immersive kind of buildup than a carnival, Right. I don't know. I think if it was up to me, which is not, I know I get a lot of, special access from Bob Iger and stuff, but I would put it in the gardens area. I think the pier is a weird setup for such an elaborate ride.
This is where the pier hasn't. This is where the issue comes with just having the pier in general themed with Pixar, is it restricts you to be very fully immersive with any kind of Pixar IP, because now you're secluded to this one area, and this one area is basically a seaside pier, kind of amusement park carnival area that is just decorated with Pixar.
That's a great way of putting it, George. It's decorated. It's not themed. There is a difference between decoration and theming. And I don't think Pixar Pier is themed. It's decorated. It's like you said, it's an amusement park area, a pier that has Pixar decorations on it. And then you're going to put this immersive Pirates of the Caribbean style ride in that mix. I don't know, man. I don't love it. And this is probably what they're going to do, I guess. I don't know. But I don't love it. I don't.
Something that's truly unique about this place on the map is it's the only spot that actually expands the theme park. Everywhere else, we're looking at taking things that are already available to guests and converting it over to a new experience. What we've been talking about on this channel, addition by.
That is very true. But I think that the areas that we talked about in this video that you're replacing, physically, yes, you're subtracting to add. Physically, he's right on that. But I think in terms of improving the park and the optics and the perception of the park, the removal of those areas, the whole Hollywood area is an eyesore and a mess. Removing that area and putting any kind of heavily themed boat ride or anything in there is a massive net positive. I know technically you're losing something, but you're gaining a better park for it. Paradise Gardens and that whole area with the Zephyr and the jellyfish and the Sky School. Technically, yes, you're losing a lot of attractions. You're losing an area, but you're gaining something much more on par with what people expect from Disney. So physically, you're right, you're subtracting, but in terms of brand and in terms of perception of DCA, it's a huge gain. It's a massive, massive gain, in my opinion.
Subtraction. But this is the only location that expands the footprint of DCA. You greedy little voters, you. And I guess last but not least, wouldn't it be nice to give this area a bit of purpose? Right now, there are character meet and greets. It's set up a little bit differently for when Sid's here during Oogie Boogie Bash. And then you have the carnival style games next door. I don't think a lot of people come to a very expensive Disney park to play carnival games. So I do feel like what would be lost here, people wouldn't necessarily miss. The only thing that I think might upset some people is Bing Bong, but I feel like some Mexico sweet treats could change a couple of votes. It changed mine. Now this is where I get into what's bad about this location. But my bad points have started to actually change after coming here and filming this morning and envisioning this footprint as Coco and not what it currently is. Because as I've said, I'm very concerned about Coco creating a neighborhood inside of the park. I feel like the Coco attraction has a unique capability to bring Southern California's demographics into a spot in the park where they can truly celebrate. And being selfish, I absolutely love Mexico food. I like going to Mexico because they just call it food there. And so originally, my big concern was, do we have to put the neighborhood?
Shout out to our Latinas. OG loves Latinas. I love the Latinas. But no, he's so funny. So it's not, when you go to Mexico, it's not Mexican food. It's just food. It's just food. It's just food. I love it. Ricky's awesome, dude.
On the other side of the tunnel, which could be great. It could be a nighttime Mexico street fair, like what we see at the Mexico Pavilion inside of Epcot, one of my favorite pavilions. However, if the neighborhood goes through the tunnel, you could do the math here. We're simply reducing the amount of footprint that we have left for attraction. And just like all you greedy voters at home, I want as much attraction and as much neighborhood as possible. That's where today I had my revelation. Because another item I had on my cons list was that the entryway felt like a disconnection. You're on this bright, colorful Pixar Pier. You go through the doors and whoops, you just landed in Mexico. However, hear me out. This is my revelation from today. What if we get rid of all these bullshit games that nobody care about? What if we create this entire area as a Mexican neighborhood, a street fair, if you will?
Thank you.
Maybe some of these games get swapped out for quick food service. Bing Bong gets transformed over into a place full of Mexican sweet treats and that sweet, sweet Coco merchandise. I'm starting to really see the way where all of these little facades could easily be transformed over, and we would have what I've been hoping for, a little Latino land in the back corner of
a little Latino land. But then again, if they do that, you're basically taking out a big chunk out of what is called a pier. So if you're going to do that, you might as well should just retheme the whole damn area.
Well, if they turn this little area into like a really immersive Mexican village. Yeah, you cut into Pixar Pier. You are encroaching. You're heavily theming. You're encroaching in on this cheap theme of the pier, and you're adding more immersiveness. I like that. Look, I'm not a fan of Pixar Pier, so anything that if you can take any of that cheapness out and replace it with something like actually themed, I'm all for it. If you could, I mean, you would cut Pixar Pier by like 25% if you did this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if it wasn't part of the pier, is what I'm saying. If they turn this into a Mexican village, and they turn it into this little Mexican village, and it's no longer the pier, and the pier starts after the village, yeah, you're really taking away from the whole length of the pier, which I'm all for it. I've been saying it for a long time, but this is a fascinating idea, and he's kind of blowing my mind right now with this. I never really considered this.
DCA. This would give us all the Coco and Mexico vibes, but it would also give us a bigger footprint for our attraction. But let's get into the problem of what exists beyond these doors. There is a ton of operations that happen back here. And most importantly, this is a big staging area for parades that happen inside of DCA. But I do see a workaround.
And here's the thing, and he'll explain his workaround, but I do want to say, workaround is not to be confused with the Pixar Pal around, by the way.
Yes.
Stop it. Parades are a big question mark for me with this whole thing, because if Coco goes here, there is the parade element of it, you know, that would have to be reconfigured. And like we said before, if Avatar goes into Hollywood Land, there's a parade element with that too. So I don't know. There might be some complete reimagining, reconfiguring of the parades at DCA.
If they even keep a parade aspect in DCA, the parade might just go away in general, or maybe there will be a new parade route once they dip into the Simba parking lot.
Yeah, I think there might be a new parade route. I can't imagine them getting rid of a parade route completely, but I can see them reconfiguring where it goes through the park, how it snakes through the park. They might have to, because a lot of the stuff they want to touch, or that it's rumored to be touched, affects the parade. So I don't know.
Hear me out. What if we were able to build the Coco attraction up on a second floor? So the back access road continues to have full access around the outer footprint of DCA. So there is still a parade staging area, although it wouldn't be as tall, and there could still be other buildings that they could use on the ground floor. But you tell me, engineers. Rooftop pools is kind of an LA thing, but a rooftop or second floor boat ride, I don't know. But hey, basements. So now that we've done the work on fitting Coco in here, my only last con was the outside area just has very congested footprint already. It's loud. I don't like the sound floor, obviously, while I'm filming over here, and they're playing me some Coco music. But think about the attraction of both a Coco ride for the family, as well as a whole marketplace around here. This would make this pinch point even tighter. And that is a valid concern. And my new ideas today make that concern far worse. But let's talk about what fits beyond these doors. The brand
really
new
quick
Frozen attraction over at...
So what are your thoughts on, hypothetically, if the Imagineers were to keep regular day-to-day operations on the bottom level and then have an upstairs, so to speak?
I mean, if that's how they can do it logistically, as long as it doesn't like interfere with like the show elements of stuff, if they can do it where it's seamless, do what you got to do. But if it hinders the attraction and the quality of the attraction in any way, I don't know. Then I wouldn't want it.
Yeah,
I'd rather them figure something else out. You know.
Yeah.
My top priority is a good attraction. DCA needs a good attraction. So,
it's been a while. It's been a long while.
It's been a long while.
Disney's Fantasy Springs in Tokyo is one of the best dark rides I've seen, and it puts what used to be Maelstrom over in Epcot absolutely to shame. A boat ride of that size is roughly about 100,000 square feet. Luckily for us, we have 110,000 square feet behind these doors. And that footprint for Frozen also is the whole front facade of the attraction as well as the queue. So a huge family-sized boat ride would fit back here, taking people on an epic Coco adventure, and once again, paying tribute to many citizens at Disneyland, which is something that goes back to the origins of Disneyland. Disneyland and Walt Disney have always had a close relationship with our Latino neighbors. There's some amazing photographs if you go back into the Disney archive celebrating Latino heritage inside of Disneyland. So I thought my number one was very, very easy to pick, but I don't know. Pixar Pier, you convinced me. And thanks for voting. Literally Coco right now. So I do believe that area creates the best opportunity to keep like brands together and to create an exceptional customer experience. You know what else creates an exceptional customer experience? Watching this video right here, where I go so far in the weeds breaking down Villain's Land, coming to Magic Kingdom. Friends, I found about 120 details hidden inside of this concept artwork. Thank you so much for showing up. I hope you enjoyed this video as well. Friends, I asked over.
Perfect. Another fantastic video by BRICKEY. And like I said, I will be linking the video at the end of this video. But yeah, fascinating stuff. This is why I love being a Disney Parks fan is breaking stuff down like this and learning about new stuff and figuring out what's going to come about. You know what I'm saying? This is what makes it for me. You know, so
in the words of the Lizzie McGuire movie, this is what dreams are made of.
Yeah, exactly.
I just completely dated myself.
Oh, you don't even want to know. I can date myself far worse than that, George. Far worse, believe me. But George, if you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter. Again, not sure for how long. You can find me.
I'm serious. George and I are serious. We're thinking about really like just kind of abandoning Twitter and just kind of going somewhere else because the app has been it's ruined. Like it's just so many bots and like people that just are ugly on there. Like I don't need any of that shit.
It's very tainted. It's a very tainted platform right now. And it's a shame too, because if done correctly and was handled properly, it could be a very great social media platform, but unfortunately here's
the thing, and I'm not going to get too into this because people do get funny when you criticize Elon. It's a touchy subject, right? But I mentioned it in the video with Seymour and Ebba the other day. We did a whole video on X, right? A whole video on it, and Elon talks about freedom of speech. You don't have freedom of speech when there's no rules. Okay, when it's lawless. America is a free country, but we have laws. In order to have that freedom, you need to have some way to hold the fabric together. You know what I'm saying? It can't be just lawless, like freedom, and there's just Twitter is just lawless at this point. He doesn't enforce anything. People can just harass other people, no problem. There's no consequences. The only time he ever suspends anybody is if it's somebody he disagrees with politically, like the Harris campaign or something. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. It's become the Wild Wild West. It's not freedom of speech. He's trying to save money by having less people working at Twitter, and he's using freedom of speech as a way to sort of justify that cheapness because the app is struggling financially. But I don't want to get too deep into that. Seymour Duck. We'll definitely tell you more if you want to know about it.
Follow Seymour Duck.
Yes, absolutely. But anyway, George, thank you for joining. And thank you all at home for joining this episode of OG 55. And until the next time, get it.